another Pillar Kids video.
Hey kids, I'm Mr. Bill.
And I'm Miss Ebony.
Today we're going to be teaching you about Moses and the Ten Commandments. You can find it in your Bibles in the book of Exodus, chapters 16 and 17, and also chapters 19 through 40.
So today's story is called 10 Ways to Be Perfect. So there they all were, grannies, granddads, babies, uncles, aunts, children, moms and dads, out there in the middle of the desert. They had blisters from all the walking. They were hungry and thirsty and much, much too hot.
We don't like it, they said. It stinks. And it did, for that matter, because none of them had had a bath in like a couple of weeks.
Now remember, because this is something they'd forgotten, God had done amazing things for his people. He'd hidden them inside a cloud, he moved the sea, he set them free.
But God's people still weren't happy. They didn't care about being free. Wasn't it better when we were slaves? At least we had lots of nice food to eat.
God doesn't want us to be happy, they said. It was the same lie that Adam and Eve had heard all those years before. God has brought us out here to kill us. God doesn't love us. But they didn't know God very well, did they?
Every day of their journey, God kept on showing his people how well he would look after them if they would trust him and obey him. When they were hungry, God made the sky rain with food. Bread was coming down from heaven. What is it? They asked each other. They didn't know. They didn't know what to call it. So they just called it, what is it? It seems like a pretty good name to call something when you don't know what it is. Well, when they were thirsty, they started quarreling, fighting. God made water flow from a rock. And Moses called that place Quarreling, because that seemed like a pretty good name too.
And still, God's children didn't trust him or do what he said. They thought they could do a better job of looking after themselves and making themselves happy. But God knew there was no such thing as happiness without him.
So God led them to a tall mountain. God wanted to talk to his people and show them what he was like. He wanted to help them know him better and tell them about the special land he was going to give them.
The whole earth belongs to me, God said, but I have chosen you. You are my special family. I want you to live in a way that shows everyone else what I'm like, so they can know me too.
And God called Moses up the mountain. The great mountain shook. A thick cloud fell. Thunder roared and lightning crackled. And God gave Moses 10 rules. He called them commandments.
I want you to love me more than anything else in all the world, and know that I love you too, God told him. That is the most important thing of all.
God also gave them other rules, like don't make yourselves pretend gods. Don't kill people or steal or lie. Those rules showed God's people how to live and how to be close to him and how to be happy. They showed how life works best.
God promises to always look after you, Moses said. Will you love him and keep these rules?
We can do it. Yes, we promise.
But they were wrong. They couldn't do it. No matter how hard they tried, they could never keep God's rules all the time.
God knew that they couldn't, and he wanted them to know it too.
Only one person could keep all the rules, and many years later, God would send him to stand in their place and be perfect for them.
because the rules couldn't save them. Only God could save them.
Wow, boys and girls. Last week, we saw that God made a way for the Israelites to walk on dry land. And now they're in the desert with Moses, and they know that God will take care of them, but they still were scared and they were still so mad. Can you believe that they said it would have been better if they were still slaves in Egypt? I couldn't believe it. But I guess that's what we see when our hearts don't want to obey God. And Moses, God made Moses be the leader for the Israelite people, but they just didn't believe that God would take care of them. I'm thankful for the 10 commandments that God gave the Israelite people. We still have the 10 commandments today in the Bible. And these are 10 commandments that show us what it means to live a perfect life. But can anybody be perfect? Do you know anyone who is perfect? Not today. No. The only person I can think of is Jesus. He's the only one who was perfect and never broke any of the 10 commandments. So, what does that mean? Well, boys and girls, it means that we can only look to Jesus. He's the only one who's perfect. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Thank you, Miss Ebony and Mr. Bill, for reading today's lesson. See you next week.